In November of 2024, something strange started appearing in the skies over New Jersey. At first, people thought they were just seeing drones, but these weren't ordinary drones. They moved in ways that defied explanation, appeared in massive numbers, and seemed to target some of America's most sensitive locations. And soon, the sightings spread across multiple states. Airports shut down, military bases restricted their airspace, and in a shocking development, one of these objects got dangerously close to Air Force One itself. Despite the FBI, Homeland Security, and multiple federal agencies investigating, no one could explain what these objects were or who was controlling them. When a retired Navy SEAL came forward with a theory, it revealed something even more disturbing than anyone imagined. You won't want to miss this one. On November 18th, 2024, residents in New Jersey started reporting something unusual in their night sky. They were seeing what appeared to be drones, but not the kind you typically get as a Christmas gift or see people flying at the beach. These were much bigger, and they were moving in ways that didn't make any sense. Initially, local authorities kind of brushed these off, but then more sightings started coming in from all over New Jersey, and then from New York, and then from Connecticut, and then from Pennsylvania. And these reports weren't just coming from random individuals. They were coming from police, military veterans, and commercial airline pilots, all describing the same thing. And as a matter of fact, the situation became so serious that yesterday, on December 15th, Stewart International Airport in New York had to completely shut down their runways. They had multiple reports of drones flying dangerously close to their airspace, and they could not risk having any aircraft take off or land. The shutdown lasted for an hour, but it showed just how serious this situation had become. The same night, something similar happened at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. Military officials had to restrict the entire airspace above the base because of strange drone activity.
It happened late Friday night at Wright-Patterson Air Force, and that's when the Air Force Base had to shut down its airspace for several hours.
The Wright-Patterson includes operations dedicated to monitoring cyber threats and houses the 655th Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Group, which oversees 14 intelligence squadrons around the country. Today, on December 16th, a downed drone was discovered at Nantucket Memorial Airport. Airport officials told reporters they found it on an area of pavement that was specifically reserved for aircraft operations. The drone was small, under half a pound, but its presence alone was enough to trigger immediate reports to both the FAA and Transportation Security Administration. The federal government has now gotten heavily involved. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security put out a joint statement saying they couldn't find any evidence that these drones posed a national security threat or had any connection to foreign governments. But that statement only seemed to raise more questions than answers. Things got even more complicated when New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew went on Fox News and suggested these drones might be coming from an Iranian mothership sitting off the East Coast. The Pentagon had to immediately step in and shut that theory down. They told reporters there was absolutely no Iranian ship anywhere near American waters. And just this past weekend, police in Boston arrested 2 men for flying a drone dangerously close to Logan International Airport. The police identified them as Robert Duffy, 42, and Jeremy Folkick, 32. They caught them on Long Island in the Boston Harbor after what police called a hazardous drone operation near the airport's airspace. The FAA has now issued another serious warning. They're getting multiple reports from pilots about lasers being pointed at planes in the airspace spanning Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. One private pilot named Ken Dietz was flying over New Jersey when he suddenly started seeing green flashes around his cockpit. New York Governor Kathy Hochul has now said that this has gone too far and is now demanding federal assistance. She's calling on Congress to pass something called the Counter-UAS Authority Security Safety and Reauthorization Act, which would give states more power to investigate these sightings. sightings. Meanwhile, New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer has taken matters into his own hands. He's launched a special tips page on his website where people can report drone sightings. During a press conference, he told reporters that Jersey and our country can't be the Wild West of drones and that they need a proper system to track this activity. Gottheimer made it clear he wasn't talking about small recreational drones. He informed reporters they are dealing with large, record-sized drones that are unlicensed and unauthorized. And then he said that it was an insult to the American people to not believe what they're seeing with their own eyes. The White House has also gotten involved. John Kirby, the White House National Security Communications Advisor, told reporters that they've been using sophisticated electronic detection technologies, but still haven't been able to verify any of the reported sightings. And Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas went on ABC News and claimed that while it's their job to be vigilant, they haven't found any reason for serious concern. But then, President-elect Donald Trump made some explosive claims during a press conference. He said that both the military and President Biden know exactly what's going on with these drones, but they're intentionally keeping it from the public. Trump had told reporters that for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense and that something strange is going on. When asked if he'd received an intelligence briefing about the drones, he declined to comment. The Department of Defense has tried to calm fears by just telling reporters that they don't have any intelligence, suggesting these drones are connected to a foreign power, but in the same breath, they admitted they can't be completely certain because they have to coordinate with local and federal officials to track them down. Federal authorities are now deploying new drone detection technology and infrared cameras to try to figure out what's happening in our skies. But despite all these resources and all these different agencies getting involved, it's evident we still don't have any clear answers about what these objects are, who's operating them, or why they keep appearing on some of our most sensitive locations. Some people are starting to wonder if what we're seeing might not be drones at all. And while officials are focusing on more earthly explanations, social media has been lighting up with theories about something potentially not of this world. Looking at videos posted online of these objects, a lot of people have pointed out how these supposed drones move in ways that seem unusual, defying our physics, and they've been reported traveling in precise formations, like hovering completely still for hours, and then suddenly accelerating at speeds that, say, are beyond current drone technology. What's also really fascinating is that these sightings are happening in some of the most heavily monitored airspace in America. I mean, we're talking about areas near major airports, military installations, and large population centers where any unauthorized aircraft should be picked up immediately by radar. And yet, despite all of this sophisticated monitoring equipment, officials still can't seem to track or identify these objects. And multiple witnesses have reported watching these lights suddenly vanish, only to reappear in a completely different location moments later. While this could be explained by multiple drones working together, there's witnesses that insist the movements they've seen don't match any known drone capabilities. But if we listen to the Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas,
let me calm those nerves. We have not seen anything unusual. We have not seen any unusual activity.
And other officials, they're very clear. They have found no evidence of anything otherworldly. And they maintain that these sightings likely have a perfectly rational explanation, whether they're misidentified aircraft, authorized drones that weren't properly reported, or possibly people pulling elaborate pranks. Still, until we get more concrete answers about what these are, there's going to be more speculation. Now, what I find very interesting is that about a year ago, on December 10th, 2023, these mysterious objects got way too close to Air Force One, which is the plane carrying President Joe Biden. The incident happened as Air Force One was preparing to land at Los Angeles Airport. You had two F-35 fighter jets that were escorting the president's plane, which is standard procedure. But at around 10:28 that morning, camera operators spotted what they described as a silvery white orb passing right over Air Force One. Moments later, this same orb reappeared, blinking in the upper right corner on their cameras. But it was during its third appearance at 11:08 a.m. that camera operators finally managed to get a clear, close-up shot of whatever this thing was. The footage was being streamed live on the LA Flight's YouTube channel when the cameraman by the name of Joshua Solorzano began discussing what he was seeing. He explained that this object was right above them, but that it was moving, but definitely wasn't a star, and that he had watched it come from the direction of the ocean. What's strange about this object is that it managed to get closer to Air Force One than even the F-35 escorts, and yet, based on the lack of reaction from these fighter jets, it seems their pilots didn't detect this object either visually or on their radar. Another witness, a local resident named Chris Kalari, spotted the same object while walking through the city. He had told reporters that he watched it for about 15 minutes and all it did was float there completely still before drifting away. He also noticed that a Los Angeles Police Department chopper circled nearby, though he couldn't tell if it was responding to the object or something on the ground. Now, for some reason, reports about this incident didn't surface until almost 2 weeks later. Nobody seemed to know why there was such a delay in this information coming out, and it's led some to speculate that authorities might have tried to prevent its publication. It does fit into an increasingly concerning pattern here, because these objects aren't just showing up over random locations anymore, they're appearing near some of our most sensitive and heavily protected areas, which makes you wonder if we're really just dealing with drones here, considering that they're able to evade our most sophisticated detection systems. Those F-35s escorting Air Force One aren't just any aircraft. I mean, they are some of the most advanced fighter jets in the world, and they're equipped with cutting-edge radar and sensing technology, and yet, whatever this object was, it managed to get closer to the president's plane than these without triggering any response. And so when you look at all these incidents, from the airport shutdowns in New York and Massachusetts to the military base restrictions in Ohio, a disturbing picture begins to emerge. These objects, whether they're drones or something else, seem to be specifically targeting our most protected airspace. Not to mention the federal government's response has also raised some eyebrows. Why did it take 2 weeks for the Air Force One incident to become public? Why are different agencies giving seemingly contradictory statements? While Homeland Security says there's no cause for concern, airports are being shut down and military bases are restricting their airspace. And in fact, recently, federal authorities announced they're expanding their drone detection to cover more areas along the East Coast. But if it's nothing to be concerned about, why? And given the fact that these objects have already demonstrated an ability to evade military radar and sophisticated aircraft sensors, it's really unclear whether this new technology will be any more effective. A newer theory has emerged from an unexpected source, Clint Emerson, who's a retired Navy SEAL and security expert. And recently, he told reporters something that makes a lot of sense when you look at all of these incidents together. He explained that what we might be seeing is actually a classified government program, something known as a special access program. These are programs specifically designed to be so secret that even people with the highest security clearances don't even know they exist. In fact, sometimes these programs are known to only officials in the entire government. This would explain why different agencies seem to be giving contradictory statements. When officials say they don't know what's going on, Emerson pointed out, they're actually probably telling the truth. They really don't know because they're not supposed to know. Now, his theory about why these drones might be appearing over New Jersey is that New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the entire country, which makes it the perfect testing ground for certain types of surveillance technology. It's possible these drones could be testing different types of collection capabilities. They might be equipped with specialized cameras, high-definition infrared or thermal. But even more interesting is he suggested they might be testing technology that can collect cell phone data signatures from large populations. I mean, if you had 10 drones flying in a grid pattern, you could potentially map out millions of cell phone signatures in an area. And this wouldn't be about listening to actual phone conversations. It would be about testing how much data these drones could collect from the air. Kelly McCann, who's another security expert and former Marine Special Missions Officer, backed up this theory entirely. And he also pointed out how strange it was that, despite having complete control of our airspace, nobody seemed to be doing anything about these drones. And he even said, I quote, "It's weird how we're supposed to have control of the skies, but this is going on and no one is saying anything." And in a very dark way, the beauty of a special access program is that they're kind of in their own little lawless world, which means they can do whatever they want and they don't have to tell anybody. But of course, this is all speculation and it's just a theory. But it's the first explanation that seems to account for all of the strange aspects of these sightings. Another series of disturbing events captured by law enforcement recorded in Ocean County. And when you look at some of the recent events law enforcement have recorded, like the Ocean County Sheriff's Department in New Jersey, who has recently launched their own investigation because what they discovered is pretty unsettling. The department set up their own industrial-grade drones to try to intercept these mysterious aircraft. According to the officers involved, these objects did something they'd never seen before. They easily evaded detection and basically disappeared into thin air. Additionally, it's very bizarre, these drones don't give off any heat signatures. The sheriff's department explained that normal drones show up clearly on their thermal imaging. And as a matter of fact, one of their officers called 911 after witnessing something incredible. He reported seeing 50 of these objects coming up from the ocean. When asked to confirm that number, the officer was adamant. 50 objects all at once rising up from the water. The department immediately contacted state police and the FBI and the Coast Guard, but of course, when the Coast Guard went out to investigate, they reported seeing 13 of these objects actually following their boat. And these weren't small drones either. I mean, the Coast Guard reported that when they flew over them, these objects had wingspans of about 8 feet. The Ocean County Sheriff told reporters that his message to the White House was simple. Come to Jersey Shore. I know it's wintertime, but come and see what we see, and then maybe have a better appreciation for why our residents are concerned. He went on to explain how their industrial-grade drone unit had tried to track one of these objects, but it easily outmaneuvered them and vanished. As he put it, if this isn't our military doing these operations, then the situation is even more concerning than we thought. And all of this just adds another disturbing layer to this whole mystery. And not only are they coming from the air, but now they're coming from the ocean. And this lines up with what investigative reporter Rich McHugh discovered when he went out to investigate these sightings himself. Now, at first, McHugh admitted he was skeptical. As a New Jersey resident and journalist, he figured this would turn out to be just some pranksters. The whole thing would blow over. But what he saw changed his mind completely. He and his team spotted somewhere between 40 and 50 of these objects in a single night, and he described them as looking like fixed-wing aircraft about 8 to 10 feet wide with distinctive white blinking lights. And he was clear that these definitely were not regular airplanes. Multiple senators have now written a letter demanding a briefing with the FBI and Homeland Security. Meanwhile, in Connecticut, Senator Richard Blumenthal has taken an even stronger stance, saying these devices should be shot down if they can't be identified. Then you have House Speaker Mike Johnson, who's already received a federal briefing about these sightings, and some Senate staffers have been briefed as well. But beyond that, there's been very little transparency. The government seems to be taking this seriously behind closed doors, but they're not sharing much information with the public. As of tonight, December 16th, the sightings continue. The FBI says they're receiving an average of 92 reports every single night, and these reports now span half a dozen states. Despite the involvement of multiple federal agencies, sophisticated detection equipment, and trained professionals, we still don't have any clear answers about what these objects are or who's controlling them. The question remains, is this some classified government program testing new technology, as Clint Emerson suggested, or is something else going on? This is an ongoing event right now, and so part 2 will be coming in the following days. And because you guys made it to the end, I want you to comment below just weather balloons, so that way I know who made it to the end and who didn't. And if you guys enjoy content like this, where we deep dive into strange cases, and in this case, news stories of the mysterious and supernatural, then what are you waiting for? Smack that like and subscribe button for more content just like this. As always, I love you all, keep an open mind, and I'll see you all in the very next episode.